Time now for the markets with Leighton. You say the new cattle on feed report is out?
That's right. The April 24th numbers confirm again the problem in the beef sector that traders are talking about. That story coming up here. Also along this week, Calmain Foods is moving to cage-free eggs in a new venture. U.S. catfish processing is up, but pond bank prices are down, and cotton futures remain under pressure. Mississippi's Calmain Foods is partnering with an Indiana-based farm to build a cage-free egg production facility in Northeast Texas. The state-of-the-art complex in Bogota, Texas, will utilize Roseacre Farms' patent-pending cage-free systems. Cal-Maine President Dolph Baker says the venture not only expands egg production, but responds to the increasing customer demand for cage-free eggs. The first production at the new operation in Texas is expected in August. Pond bank catfish prices in the U.S. take a drop in the new monthly update on aquaculture. In March, producers in the U.S. received a pond bank price of $1.14 per pound for premium-size live fish. That is 3 cents per pound less than was paid a year ago in March. Farm sales topped 29.5 million pounds, an increase of 1%. Processor sales, meanwhile, headed the other direction, dropping 8% from March 2014. That total 14.6 million pounds. April 21st was jokingly called Turnaround Tuesday in the cattle sector. Futures were higher after some days of losses. Market watcher Tom Fitzenmeyer is not surprised at the recent break in cattle. Numbers are low, which he says is symptomatic of a problem he and others are definitely concerned about.
Now you're starting to see a few heifers being pulled out, which sort of adds to the tightness. On the other hand, are we really going to function with cattle $100 higher than hogs? Really? How long is that going to last? I just don't think it is. Poultry prices are low. Exports, not good because of the strength in the dollar. We're importing cattle. None of that is good for the cattle market.
And something else not good for the cattle market, the recommendation recently from the government's Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. That committee's report to USDA and Health and Human Services removes lean meat from the definition of a healthy diet. Now, in response, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association has a campaign underway to keep beef in the center of the plate.
It's going to be a great opportunity for cattle producers and all interested individuals to send their comments both to USDA and to the Department of Health and Human Services and let them know that any final guidelines that come out have to have beef still at the center of the plate. That's our big goal. We're going to be really behind the 8 ball in making that happen, so we need some grassroots engagement to really submit those comments, generate some pressure behind this, and make sure we get beef restored to that center plate scenario.
Time to break for the trivia quiz on Farm Week, and here's the quiz question. Where in the U.S. is the pine tree state? Is the answer A, Alabama, B, Georgia, C, Mississippi, or D, Maine? You'll find out in a few more minutes. We turn to row crops now in the markets. Recent rains are likely to push additional acres to soybeans as the planting date for rice draws near. At least that's the opinion of Arkansas Farm Bureau economist. Meanwhile, analyst Elaine Cubb says that with weakness in corn and ample global supplies, soybeans will have a difficult time maintaining gains. In fact, she says it's more urgent to be selling beans rather than corn right now.
Especially because you have the large supplies from South America that farmers there have still been holding off on their sales. So there is more of a threat that you could get a big movement of physical soybeans coming onto the market and pressuring prices lower. That's the threat. Yeah, I mean, they've been holding off, and so that is a big cloud over the soybean market that the corn market doesn't share.
We wind up the markets now with a check of the cotton market. There, the focus continues to be largely on China and what is or isn't happening with that economy. I talked to Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley on Tuesday. John Michael, as we record this segment, cotton has been losing a few points. What's got it under pressure right now?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's got cotton a little bit worried is the developments in China. China's GDP, China's economy seems to be fragile, might be the best word there. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about where that economy is heading, and cotton obviously is very tied to what happens in that country, both from an import and an export standpoint, especially with the U.S. So I think that's one of the biggest things that is a bit has a bit of a cloud over the market right now.
Well, you mentioned China. That kind of brings to mind exports. I did want to ask you, the dollar is on a strengthening trend. How is that playing with China, or how will it play with the China market?
Well, typically, whenever the dollar strengthens, we expect to see our exports be more expensive for our friends overseas. And so typically cotton has had an inverse relationship with the dollar. Here lately, we have seen that relationship become a positive one and almost moving very close together as the dollar has strengthened. Cotton prices have gone up, and most likely as the dollar's come down of late, cotton prices have been coming down. So something that we don't really see typically. Keep in mind though, we export the cotton, but we also import the goods that are made from spinning that cotton. So there is a bit of a trade-off there in terms of imports and exports.
All right, the USDA noted this week cotton planting behind the 5-year average in the U.S. as a whole. Is that bothering the market at this point? Still fairly early though as far as planting cotton goes.
It's probably not bothering the cotton market as much as it is the corn and bean market, and I think that's going to be the thing to watch moving forward is if we continue to see delays, especially here in the Delta states where we do plant corn so early, where are those corn acres if they don't eventually get planted to corn? What are they going to move to? Are they going to switch to beans, or are they going to switch to cotton? So I think that's the thing to watch. So cotton could very well pick up some acres as a result of this delayed planting. Right now cotton is still too early to tell. It's not quite prime planting for the time being.
And back to the trivia quiz now to wrap things up for this week. And the right answer is D, the state of Maine.